bọ́jọ́ bá pẹ́ títí ọjọ́ àpín o bọ́nà bá jìnnà jìnnà àdópin o àti sáré àdópin aré àmàtí jìyà àdópin ìyà o àti sunsun àti kan ògiri ó má di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o.
ilé òní gbóná kárẹ́nu omi kọ́lé ayé òní kóró kálọ̀ dífá ọ̀run o láyé náà la ó wà títà ó fi ṣẹ́gun lójú àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀ ẹkún akọjá òkùnkùn ajímọ́lẹ̀ fáwa ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
Ó di láéláé pọ́npá ó mà di láéláé pọ́npá Yorùbá ò ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ ẹ̀fẹ́ nìkan ó di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o.
yé ẹ dìde dìde bí ológun ẹ bá jàgà sílẹ̀ o ẹ rántí àtọmọdọ́mọ kò ní sún wa kò ní rẹ̀ wá bá ó fi ṣẹ́gun tẹni tó dé ó sàn ju ẹni tirẹ̀ ń bọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ò ní ní dúró kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n 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 àtùpàgbé oníkànnì o bí ẹ bá sùn ẹ gbé ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
bí a bá kú tí a bá jí a ó mẹ́ni rè fẹ́ràn ẹni bá ṣàìsàn wò ni yóò lè mọyì àlàáfíà bí a bá ṣaláìní ká tó wá ní a ó mọyì ìgbà bá ń fojoojúmọ́ jẹun ata ó dífá fún Yorùbá tí í ṣe ọmọ Odùduwà bàbá mi òkè gàgàgà tí í ṣe lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ lẹ́yìn aṣòótọ́ Ọ̀yọ́ Ìbàdàn Oǹdó Ìjẹ̀ṣà Ilé Ifẹ̀ o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Àkúrẹ́ Ọ̀wọ̀ Ìkàrẹ́ Ẹ̀yìn Èkìtì ẹ gbóhùn Ìgbé o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ìbàràpá Ilé Ẹ̀gbádò Ẹ̀yìn Ọ̀ṣun ẹ gbóhùn Ìgbé o.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè.
Ẹ̀yin Ìjẹ̀bú ọmọ Àlárẹ̀ o ẹ̀yin Ẹ̀gbá ọmọ Lísàbí.
wá ohùn alóore Odùduwà ló ń pè o ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
mo kí gbogbo ojú tó ń wò mí káàkiri ayé mo kí wa lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin lọ́mọdé lágbà nínú ilé yìí mo kí wa pákó dédé àsìkò yìí àsìkò bójú ọjọ́ tìrí ọdẹ ọdún bíbò ló ti rí lọ́dọ̀ tìyín ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ káàsán ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́ ẹ káalẹ́ ó ní ó náà ní ọjọ́ kẹtàdínlógún tí mi bá ṣí èní ní ọjọ́ kejìdínlọ́gbọ̀n ẹ wá kan fìdílé tàbí kẹ fìdílé nǹkan ọ̀rọ̀ tó lọ lẹ́tọ̀ tí àjọ fẹ́ gbéyẹ̀wò lónìí láàárọ̀ yìí nìkan ni bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tv BGI TV lórí YouTube gbàgede ìmọ̀ tv lórí Facebook péjì nítorúkọ péjì wa dẹ̀ tó ń jẹ́ nìyẹn gbàgede ìmọ̀ tv bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àjẹ́ gbàgede ìmọ̀ òkúta aláwìyé adébáyà àjẹ́bẹ́ mọ̀ gbàgede ìmọ̀ tv adẹ̀ǹjẹ́sìn lórí Facebook ẹ wá kan fìdílé tàbí kẹ fìdílé kan kẹ jẹ́ kí àjọjẹ gbádùn ètò ọ̀rọ̀ tó lọ tòní. wọ́n ní àwọn ilẹ̀ kan nílùú kan ilẹ̀ náà pọ̀ díẹ̀ èèyàn tó ṣiṣẹ́ ògùn ẹ̀ tó ralẹ̀ pé lọ́jọ́ iwájú bí òwúlò fẹ́mi awúlò fáwọn ọmọ mi. wọ́n ní Fúlàní dẹ̀ lọ 4 acres nínú ilẹ̀ yẹn Fúlàní dẹ̀ lọ fi katakata ró ó dẹ̀ gbé ráìsì síbẹ̀ ilẹ̀ onílẹ̀ tí ò mẹ́ntò ní rí. àná tí màmá yẹn sọ fún mi orí mi dàbí pé wọ́n bẹ́ẹ̀ dànù ní níbi tí inú bí mi dé. bóyá Ṣakí náà pé àbí Ẹdẹ ibìkan nu méjì ṣá ilẹ̀ yẹn á tó lẹ̀ 16 acres àwọn Fúlàní dẹ̀ bulẹ̀ yẹn títí tí wọ́n dẹ̀ wọ́n bù ilẹ̀ tí kìí ṣe lu yín ló wà tẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ tó ní rí wọ́n dẹ̀ bulẹ̀ yẹn wọ́n dẹ̀ bù ìkan wá dídí lọ fi confidence mu 4 acres ẹ wo 4 acres ó dẹ̀ lọ fi gbé ráìsì sí wọ́n tún wá bá sọ wá ní kọ́ má dààmú òun o kọ́ jẹ́ kóun kó èrè ráìsì òun ò ní wá mọ́ next year lórí ilẹ̀ onílẹ̀ tó bá jẹ́ àwọn oníṣẹ́ wọn ò ní kó ẹran wá jẹ oko yẹn tó bá jẹ́ àwọn wọ́n ti fẹ́ ẹran bá oko yẹn jẹ́ 4 acres láì mẹ́ntó ní ó dẹ̀ lọ fi gboko. àwa sọ̀rọ̀ lánàá ni màmá yẹn sọ̀rọ̀ débẹ̀ mo ní màmá ẹ̀ ti sọ fún mi kí n ti wọ́n ní tó yẹn bá sọ fún mi ńkọ́ wọ́n ló ti móko yẹn gbé ìtókù ní káwọn má jẹ̀ kan tó mú mọ́ mo ní ẹ wo bí tí àwa Yorùbá bára wa ẹ wo bí tá a bára wa Fúlàní ti wá dọ̀gà mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ ntọ́ bá ti ṣe àṣegbé nílẹ̀ tí ò fowó rà àná ló gbé ráìsì síbẹ̀ báyìí tí ẹ̀yìn á wù tí ẹ̀yìn á fùnà ẹ̀jẹ̀ ráwọn Fúlàní ẹgbẹ́ kan dẹran wọbẹ̀ torí Fúlàní ló ní ẹ̀yìn ẹjẹ́ kó jẹ́ gbogbo lẹ̀ bó ṣe pọ̀ tó yẹ kó jẹ́ Yorùbá wa kó jẹ́ àwọn tó ní ni wọ́n fi gbé ráìsì pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run lè rí wọ́n ní kàmú ń bẹ̀ torí wọ́n á da màálù wọbẹ̀ ni ihun tó ń ṣe wá nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ lẹ rí yẹn Kwara wọn ì tí ì sinmi Kogi wọn ò tí ì sinmi Ọ̀ṣun kò ì safe láìpẹ́ ìlà ń gbọ́ tí wọ́n ń gbé rumors pé wọ́n tún ti dẹ́kọ̀ tí DSS chairman tó ń pariwo pé wọ́n ti ń lọ sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ Southwest generally is not safe now. Ní àìpẹ́ yìí ó ní mo rí fọ́nrán kan.
la fi mọ bá ilẹ̀kẹ̀ la fi mọ jòjì èdè wa làmì ìdánimọ̀ wà. pẹ̀lú ìgbìyànjú kéde Yorùbá kó má dohun ìgbàgbé kó má dohun àfisẹ́yìn tí egun fi sọ. ọ̀mọ̀wé Gbénga Fágbọnú ti kó o jáde. dictionary Yorùbá aláwòrán kúnlẹ́kàkì okùn fọ́fọ́ láti ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ dópin ló ṣàtúpalẹ̀ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá tó ta kókó pẹ̀lú àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ látẹnu olùkọ́ àgbà. kò ṣeé mà níní fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá o àgbàlagbà tàbí àwọn ọmọdé ìsẹ̀yìn. àwọn àkójọpọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá tó ta kókó tó lé ní ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́tàlá pẹ̀lú àwọn àwòrán tí yóò mú òye ọ̀rọ̀ yéni ní kankan. dictionary Yorùbá ti wà jákèjádò ilé ìtajà àti ilé ìtàwé jákèjádò àgbáńláyé. fẹ̀yìn tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ rà tàbí tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ kó lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ janturu. ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà ní United Kingdom ẹ̀jẹ̀ kò sí ìyáàfin Dorcas Amusan Fagbonu ní 119 Little Houghton Lane Bradford BD5 OHT tàbí kẹ́ pè wọ́n sórí ẹ̀rọ ọ̀bánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí +447401222557. ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórílẹ̀‐èdè Amẹ́ríkà ẹ máa pọ̀ sí ọ̀gbẹ́ni Olúwaṣọ́ṣọ́yà ní 601 Cypress Station TR Unit 510 Austin Texas tàbí kẹ́ pè wọ́n sórí ẹ̀rọ ọ̀bánisọ̀rọ̀ +175727735552. ẹ̀yin ti Europe ẹ kàn sí ìyáàfin Mary Buckner Eriksbo Bisbo Ostergaard 3242434 Angel Gogibog City ní Sweden tàbí kẹ́ pè wọ́n sórí ẹ̀rọ ọ̀bánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí +4673832929. ẹ̀yin torílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé o ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ẹ máa kàn sí bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣàn tàbí kẹ́ pè wọ́n sórí ẹ̀rọ ọ̀bánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 08130602361. ẹ̀yin ti ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ pè ọ̀mọ̀wé Victor Taiwo sórí ẹ̀rọ ọ̀bánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 08126923916. kò ṣeé mẹ́ni ní o fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá o.
And when he gave me this book about the Fulani Empire and everything, Ahmadu Bello himself said it, that Ilorin is Yoruba land, in his book. Anytime some of us bring out the Gazette of Ilorin, we bring out this kind of book, these guys, they run away. I've spoken to many Fulani princes. They said Ilorin is Yoruba land. When Lord Lugard and his Royal Niger forces, Constabulary forces, they were marching into the core north to go and destroy and annex the Sokoto Caliphate. Ilorin, the Sultan of Sokoto wrote to Ilorin that Ilorin should help them as brothers in Islam, part of the Umar, to stop Ilorin, to stop the army from coming. Ilorin just said, no, and Ilorin was part and parcel of the Yoruba civil wars. Kí la wá ń sọ? What has happened is social engineering. The social engineering that has made some Ishekiris not to realize that they are Yorubas. When some Ishekiris realize that they are Yoruba true and true, many of them, I know some people that ran away from Twitter because they were socially engineered to be joining the alliance of 8 against their Yoruba. They don't know. They don't know. Many people were already 70 years before they knew they were pure Ijebu blood. They didn't know. So the issue of Ilorin is social engineering of a particular cabal in Ilorin West. Torí tí ọmọ ti sọ pé àwọn ò ní jẹ́ ká sùn, àwa náà ò ní jẹ́ ká sùn, á dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ̀rọ̀ síta ń sìn. This is my face. I'm the president of TYF. On the role we are playing, I cannot say some things publicly. Not everything can be said. Ṣùgbọ́n I can tell you that the Ilorin issue is a political issue. And the Ilorin issue is part of the Ọ̀yọ́ problem. Sheriff category cannot. Torí ẹni mo sọ fún yín ẹ̀yin tẹ́fẹ́ gbogbo especially I want to beg you, people from Eastern Yoruba land. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi ọgbọ́n, ẹ jẹ́ ká fi to ọ̀rọ̀ tó wà nílẹ̀ yìí. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ̀dẹ̀ wá láti Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́, tẹ́ wá láti Ìbàdàn, Ìjàyè, Ẹ̀gbá. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi ọgbọ́n to ọ̀rọ̀ yìí o. So that omi ò ní gbẹ̀yìn, we are not going to regret what is already on ground. The days of kingdoms is already over. The days of kingdoms, come and create mini kingdoms. This is the day of period of Pax Yorubana. Ilorin people, I want Ilorin, the core Ilorin people see themselves as part and parcel of Yoruba people. One of the best Fuji musicians is from Ilorin, Kollington Ayinla. Solely second best to Barrister. So kí la wá ń sọ? Culturally, the issue of religion. Ṣé nínú Southwest, ṣé wọn máa discriminate against the traditional worshippers? Ẹ jẹ́ ká bá a sọ tọrọ. Ọ̀ṣun, Ọ̀yọ́, Ògùn, Èkó, it's more than 2-3 years now. Ọdún kẹta rèé, August 20 náà fún traditional worshippers ní public holiday wọn. Ṣé Ògùn àti Èkìtì ṣe join? Ṣé àmọ́ reason tí wọ́n fi join? I'm not going to say some things on here. Because of àwọn fanatics tó wà láàrin wa now. Because many people think about this sort of fanatics, Islam, there are Christian fanatics too. Christian fanatics. We have Muslim, in fact, there are Isheshe fanatics too. There are Buddhist fanatics, there are Hindu, there are always fanatics when it comes to religion, extremists. But in as much as we want to be critical, we've done, when it comes to managing religion, Yoruba people is 7/10. Nínú Ìlọrin tẹ̀dẹ̀ ń wò yẹn náà, even though some people tried as much as possible, láti stop Christianity, in fact, Christianity in Ìlọrin is so huge. Compare see some places gone in Southwest. But as in Ṣọdún Ṣẹ̀ṣe, Ṣàwó, that is just a stone throw. Zobi Baraki ló pín Ṣàwó àti Ìlọrin. Nínú Emirates wọ́n dábẹ́ claim pé Ṣàwó is Ìlọrin, mo ti sọ fún wọn, and claim pé Ṣàwó is Ìlọrin, tán bá bí yín dá, cross into Ṣàwó. It's because of they want to create they want to create this illusion. It's illusion. Political Islam they're in display. Lọ́rọ̀ Ìlọrin is political Islam, where a minority want to continue to use religious puritanism as láti gbé sókè, láti on top. Geopolitics ni wọ́n play ní Ìlọrin, advanced geopolitics ni. Nígbà tí àwọn tó dìde tí Balógun náà kojú dìde àtàwọn Yorùbá tí wọ́n lé ẹ̀mí àkúrò ní Ìlọrin, ibo ló sá wá? Ṣebí Ṣọ̀ún Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ló tulẹ̀ fún. tán create settlement tán pè ní Onígàmbàrí ní Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ni. When he ran away from Ilorin, he came to Ogbomoso to come and to ask for refugee. They saw themselves as brothers and sisters. It's the bitter truth. Gbogbo àwọn tẹ́ ń wo bí tẹ́ ń pè ní Gàmbàrí yẹn were all part and parcel of the Oyo Empire. They have Yoruba blood. They are all Yorubas. All of them, they are all Yorubas. They are all Oyo speaking. Dialectically, linguistically, historically, they are all Oyos. So the mindset ni pé táwọn bá ọ̀rọ̀ Aláàfin Olúewu yẹn àwọn kan fẹ́ gbẹ̀san kìnìkan ọ̀nà filọ́n seek geopolitical alliance pẹ̀lú Connaught. Ẹ̀yin ó ṣe fún mi ní 2 minutes ẹ jọ̀ọ́ láti dáhùn question. Ṣé rí ọ̀rọ̀ successor states kẹ́mpáyà kan fọ́ tẹ́mpáyà bá fọ́ káwá ní strong city state bíi mẹ́rin márùn-ún kán mọ jà sí power òun ló ṣẹlẹ̀ òun ló ń fa issue Russia Ukraine yìí. When the USSR fell, the most biggest and the most powerful out of the successor states, ṣàgbébẹ̀ ní Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, gbogbo àwọn states yẹn tó ti jábọ́ 34, but the 2 most powerful was Russia and Ukraine. Russia had a lot, Ukraine had a lot of nuclear weapons. Russia had a lot of, but Russia was the one that quickly said, we are the successor to USSR. Inti Putin in Soniel, Inti West didn't suffer niye, where you are not the successor of USSR. Where Ukraine la on fait successor for USSR. So ogun Ukraine Russia on the geopolitical level, it is a battle for survival. Ogun Ilorin, what dàbí ogun Ìbàdàn àti Ìlọrin ni. Many of the Ogun Ìbàdàn àti Ìlọrin in the geopolitical sense. I'm from Ibadan warlord family. It was a battle for who was going to replace Oyo as the imperial authority in the Yoruba speaking world through war. War nothing settled in Gambia. Eastern Yoruba land in diplomacy and the EBI system of TFLO, which was more peaceful. It's the bitter truth. The western side is very aggressive because of the neighbors. You cannot have Fulani neighbors, Hausa neighbors, Nupe neighbors, Bariba neighbors. These are you cannot have those kind of neighbors, Songe, and not be radical. You cannot. Bini only on me if you neutralize the threats across the Niger Basin, not the ogun buruku beye. Today, and even the Igbo speaking groups, ni Gbogbo Delta and Konkonye, Bini princes, àwọn ọmọ Ọ̀rànmíyàn ni wọ́n fi jẹ ọba níbẹ̀, which are still from Ife. So you have to understand where we are coming from and where we are going. So the issue of Ilorin is not a problem. If the 2 local governments, Lesotho, in the Yoruba region, we have no problem. They can be. But the Minishao, those are Yoruba land. They are still there. It's just political. Torí ẹ̀ ni mo fi sọ nípa political power. Tí mo fi ń ké that there must be political organization. We can't say political organization. And if any political organization, you must understand geopolitics. Don't give the political power of Yoruba land to the worst of us. To understand geopolitics. They are petty, they are clannish. Don't give them, don't. They must never have power to geopolitics. They must never have power in Yoruba land. When the issue of Ishekiri to Diojue 2 years ago, Tiawakan sáré kiri, tan sáré kiri lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Shekiri, we reached out to some elders. Wọ́n ní kí ló kà wọ́n pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ Shekiri. They are not concerned. Ede Amari olórí Arise TV, wọ́n á wọ ṣòtò kíní kan Yorùbá International World Affairs. They are not representing anything. Tẹ́bárí wọn tán jà fún Jẹ̀bú state, Ìbàdàn state, Kini state. In tán believe ní pé state yẹn ọmọ tiwọn àwọn náà lè jẹ senator, ọmọ tiwọn náà lè jẹ governor. That's what they are fighting for. The Yoruba social currency, the political currency of the Yoruba people is just a ladder. They cannot go to war for it. They can't. If you look at the situation of things in Yoruba land, it's like the 19th century, the period of warlords, the period of stubborn, àwọn alágídí kan kúnta, wọ́n kàn sọ̀rọ̀ jàù sáwọn ọba, wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ anyhow. Wọ́n parọ́ mọ́ra wọn, wọ́n destroy. Ààrẹ is a religious fundamentalist, is an Islamic fundamentalist. Ààrẹ wọ́n kàn sọ̀rọ̀ ẹlòmíà kan òwe. And then someone that you've not even spoken to in 6 years will just come and be saying all sorts of things. Because it is the state, we are back in the period of chaos. And that's one of the reasons why we have TYF. And that's why TYF will always be TYF. Because the ideology, the structure, what it is doing, that's what it is meant to do. The pains, the sacrifices, the tears, the koboko, tianje. Many of you will run away. The discipline to set this pace up, to have this capacity to be able to do what we are doing today. We know many people that have not slept. So the issue of learning is not different from what we have in the case of Adamawa, where Governor Fintiri, gbogbo àwọn ọba tó ti parun, indigenous obas, they raise them up. So it's going to happen. Mohammed Lawal started it. Another governor will do it. In Moro local government, in Asa local government. And even amongst the Balogun, àwọn Balogun lọ́rin náà yẹ kán uplift one now. They are qualified to be obas. Àwọn ẹgbẹ́ wọn ti dọba níbàdàn now. So clearly táwọn náà ti di ọba couple on His Royal Majesty. They will surely do it for them too. Lágbára Ọlọ́run. So I'm saying it lágbára Ọlọ́run. Kò dẹ̀ sí nǹkan kan tí wọ́n fi ṣe wá. Àṣàsí ò dẹ̀ ní mú wa. Torí ẹ̀ mo fi pariwo pé wọ́n ti ń ṣàṣì wa ìran Yorùbá. Àṣàsí ti wá. Ṣé rí kan kọjú Yorùbá síra wọn jù is the greatest tool that they've been using to keep up where we are. Torí ẹ̀ ní if you are a Yoruba man, torí ẹ̀ ní táwọn èèyàn bá ń bú mi tán sọ̀sọ̀kúsọ, some people feel àwárẹ̀ why tell me respond. I cannot respond because èmi understand the tán fi destroy Aláàfin Olúewu, àwọn Yorùbá generals ní wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ tálàfin máa win ní ogun yìí a máa di kíní padà Ọ̀yọ́ empire and they started sabotaging themselves. Àwọn tó sabotage dancing kí náà benefit everybody ṣe ẹrú ni. Àtẹni tó jàre o, àtẹni tó jẹ̀bi o. Torí ẹ̀ ní tá a bá fẹ́ pa ègún rẹ́, we must study history. We must study history. We must study history geopolitically. Don't study history to seek vengeance. Pé ìtàn ṣe fún àwa Èkìtì, tí Ìbàdàn ṣe fún àwa Èkìtì, a máa revenge ni. Don't do that. Ntí Ọ̀yẹ́ Ẹ̀gbá ṣe, ìtàwọn Ìlọrin ṣe fún Aláàfin, a máa revenge ni. You cannot do that. Ogun la pè. So we talk about geopolitics. More than hundreds of thousands làwọn Kanuri àti Fúlàní tán para wọn. Ẹ̀rí pé wọ́n dẹ̀ keep history yẹn, wọ́n keep it on that table. Àrẹwà one not irọ́ ni. Yorùbá ò para wọn tó báwọn Fúlàní àti Kanuri ṣe para wọn. Ní ìsìn one not náà claim. Ìrántí ò ń ṣe nǹkan kan náà. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wá jẹ́rẹ̀ kan náà. Ṣé is the first time tẹ́ máa. So if you remember láti lọ rin àní problem, ogun ṣẹlẹ̀ ni, empire fọ́ ni. And I'm not a fan of an empire. I'm not a fan of an empire. I'm a fan of a republic. Even Nigeria is a republic. I'm a Republican. I'm the definition of I'm a detribalized Yoruba man. I am not your first, but we need to set the record straight. torí ẹ̀yin kan tẹ́ ń support one group ẹ wá ń support pé kí ni àwọn ṣé ẹ rí tẹ́ bá create monsters kò sẹ́ni tó máa lè tẹ̀ mẹ́. That was what created Ìbàdàn. Ìgbà táwọn tìmí Oníkòyí tí wọ́n, I'm sorry to say this, they betrayed the Aláàfin Olúewu and he perished in war with the other 5 Bariba kings at the Battle of Eleduwe, and that was the beginning of hell in Yoruba land. There was displacement. There was no fulcrum. There was no power. Even the great soldiers and generals could not stand to fight because there was confusion in the land. So what happened? Everybody started moving left, right, and center. Ṣé ẹ̀rí tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní North East ni? Ẹ̀rí tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ Middle Belt ni? Where people can no longer go back to their lands and they are creating new settlements for them. Many of them will never go back to their ancestral homeland forever. That's what happens when there is war. Only few people are able to recover. That was why the Kwara, that axis of Kwara, which was a bastion of even across Jeba, bastion, full Gbogbo area, Moro local government here, Wayen Koni, there were a lot of Yoruba cities síbẹ̀ tí wọ́n parun, tí wọ́n destroy in order to be able to destroy, in order to annihilate any form of Oyo Empire coming back. So what happened? The refugees tí wọ́n ń bọ̀, tí wọ́n wá tẹ̀dó, these refugees were not going everywhere. And like I said, 19th century was a big problem. Before Ogun Eleduwe and before the destruction of Oyole, even around that axis, only problem ti ṣẹlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú Owu. The destruction of Owu Onani was the first major refugee crisis we had in Yoruba land. Ṣé àgbẹ̀ mo sọ fún yín pé láti ìgbà ìwáṣẹ̀ ni Owu náà ti fẹ́ rise as a superpower. Torí ẹ̀ ní a fi gbọ́dọ̀ bára wa sòótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá. We must stop this habit of destruction of ourselves. We must never resort to the use of war to sort out our differences. War was used to destroy Owu, and Owu was scattered all the way to Benin Republic. At the first time, close to 800 years ago, they were stopped from becoming an empire. Owu was also destroyed. You know that for Owu, Montaeru, in Kankan. But I'm sorry, Owu people are also Yorubas. They are my brothers and sisters. Momoriki Tamanki Owu, but Owu was destroyed. Was destroyed all over. Even when Rumugan was safe, they destroyed it. And it was, in fact, Oyo Ife, because they said they felt Owu was Owu disrespecting Ife and all these things. Owu was destroyed. But I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty because we must, I want to until about unite Yoruba, Emi Oni so. Now, what happened? In Tashe for Owu, ó ṣẹlẹ̀ sọ́yọ́, ó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí torí ẹ̀ mo sọ pé betrayer begets betrayer. Tracing became tracing. Torí ẹ̀ làwa kan fi sọ pé we are not going to allow President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be betrayed by fellow Yorubas. Ẹ̀yin Yorùbá tẹ́ ẹ bá ṣe, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ti jáwọ́ tẹ́ ẹ wà mọ́ tẹ́ ẹ ṣe ní 2023 because of your hate for your fellow. I'm telling you the truth. Many people, some people voted against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not because of anything, just because they said, ṣé òun nìkan wá ni? Tó bá máa yí dẹ̀ nìyí, ó ti lágbára lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Ẹnìkan ń jẹ́ kílẹ̀ fẹ́, kó náà kúrò níbẹ̀, kẹ́lòmí náà bọ́ síbẹ̀. Báwọn Yorùbá kan ṣe ronú nìyẹn o. Wọn ò mọ̀ pé you have to have a powerful figure in your midst. Ẹni tí Ọlọ́run bá dẹ̀ fún lórí ọ̀fẹ́ kó lead yín yẹn, ẹ má destroy ẹ̀. You can also choose your path. Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ ṣọ̀nà tí náà rere. Ṣùgbọ́n rọ́, they have ìwà burúkú yẹn kàn mọ́ destroy ara wọn. 19th century ní ìwà burúkú ìwọlẹ̀ Yorùbá o. 19th century ní cancer burúkú ìwọ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá o. Kí wọ́n mọ káwọn kàn mọ́ ní respect mọ́ kàn mọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ jàù kàn mọ́ bà nǹkan jẹ́ kàn mọ́ jára wá sí òhò. It started in the 19th century. That was the century of civil war. We've not recovered till now. Now going back, going forward, after the fall of Aláàfin Olúewu tó gbógun lọ, bẹ̀tí ikú ogun ní pa kíkanjú, ikú odò ló ń pòmùwẹ̀. So there's no big deal at all. Kálàfin, this is normal. Aláàfin Ọ̀rọ̀pọ̀tọ̀ also died in battle. So there's no big deal. So it is normal. Even Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò dying in battle is a thing of glory. That was how the Japanese used to think. That's why Japanese wọ́n máa ń pè nǹkan ní seppuku. Wọ́n máa ń pè nǹkan ní they call it seppuku. That was the same thing. Torí ẹni tó máa ń kí Oníkòyí, wọ́n láwọn Oníkòyí. Àwọn tó tán bá gbọ́jọ́ kú, wọ́n á dẹ̀ máa lùlù inú á máa dùn tán bá gbọ́ ọjọ́ kú. Wọ́n máa ń pè wọ́n ní agbọ́tikúyọ̀. Wọ́n á ní ìrántí pé iwájú báyìí náà fi ń gba ọfà. Pé ẹnu náà fi ń gba ọfà. Those are valiant things. That is what our people are known for. Now, Ọ̀yọ́ Empire fell and Ọ̀yọ́ Àtìbà decentralized Ọ̀yọ́. Now, there was a battle going on. The battle of successor states. Ìlọrin stood up. Ilorin was an Oyo city state who wanted to become another empire. Shari might said, àwọn Ilorin till this current moment, ó ní pé àwọn ní successor Oyo empire. Might said tí Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ó ní pé àwọn làwọn succeed Ọ̀yọ́ empire. I'm telling you, gbogbo àwọn tó ń gbọ́ mi tẹ́wọ́ láti Ìlọrin tẹ́wọ́ láti Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ẹ mọ̀ tí mò ń sọ o. Mindset tí Ìbàdàn ní pé àwọn làwọn succeed Ọ̀yọ́ empire, which is true. So this is their mindset. Torí ẹ̀ ni wọ́n fi ń approach nǹkan. And mindset even 2025 ní orí fẹ̀rí nonsense ni pé Ọ̀yọ́ empire is no more now. So àwa ni olórí aládé nsìn ìtumọ̀ ni pé we have succeeded Ọ̀yọ́ empire. So tí alágbára kan tó dàda wá kan tẹ́ bá wo Tinubu sí mo fẹ́ example Tinubu fún yín ni o. Tí Tinubu bá fall lónìí, God forbid mi ìgbàdo lónìí jẹ́ ó fall o. Akọ́ká máa gbàdúrà pé kí wàhálà má ṣẹlẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ni. Kó má ṣẹlẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ni. Because there will be a brutal war of successor. Tẹ́ ẹ bá wo nǹkan sí àwọn kan tí ń position ara wọn. Ẹ bá wo Ṣèyí Mákindé ń position ara rẹ̀. Even Adeleke gan position ara rẹ̀. It's so funny. Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá ni ò tiẹ̀ ní sùúrù, àwọn bàbá bọ́ọ̀tà tiẹ̀ ní wọ́n fẹ́ tètè replace Tinubu ní síní. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ti gbà pé kò ọba méjì ò lè sí nílùú. So you have to understand where all this is going. Where that was what happened to Oyo. So Ibadan was now fighting left, right, and Ibadan became became a monster. Now, Ibadan àti Ilorin were the two strongest. Ibadan were the two strongest. I'm not going to talk about the different wars. Now, torí gbogbo Amori àti nǹkan ogun tí Àfọ̀njá tó create ní Ìlọrin làwọn Alimi inherit. The fighting force, the fighting styles, everything. In fact, many ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọba ní Gbòmínà that used to be under the Oyo Empire, that used to be subjected to the Oyo Empire, that used to be down later on, wọ́n tún renege, wọ́n support ti Àfọ̀njá. that used to be under Afoja, they just switched side and they joined the army of the Lawrence led by Halimi and his son, especially his son. Ọmọ ẹ̀gángan ló tiẹ̀ wá lead ogun yẹn. Ṣọ́rọ̀ mi yé, Shita and co. So tí ẹ bá rí gbogbo, so torí ẹ̀ ní the Lawrence army was a Yoruba speaking army. Torí ẹ̀ ní tẹ́ bá lọ wo Clapperton, ìwé Clapperton. Tẹ́ bá lọ wo, it was Samuel Johnson ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ àwọn Fúlàní. Samuel Johnson, we can criticize Samuel Johnson's. I criticize Samuel Johnson's some of his stories a lot, especially the history of Yoruba people where we are from Mecca. That's àwọn Fúlàní narrative nìyẹn. Tí Sultan Bello tó sẹ́yìn sí Ìlọrin tó fẹ́ pass sí all over Yoruba land. That's not true. Or pé gbogbo àwọn no. Or it was the Fulani army. It was not the Fulani army. It was the Yoruba army. It was the Yoruba army. But until Ìlọrin create in tó ń pè ní a Yorubanized Islamic city-state. A puritanical Islamic Yoruba city-state. Bí Sultan Usman Fodio ṣe create an Hausa-speaking Fulani empire ní northern Nigeria. That was the ambition of Alimi, to create a Yoruba-speaking Islamic empire led by the Fulanis south of the Niger. That is why till date, the Fulanis, the Iloris, see themselves as the custodian of Islam in Yoruba land. That is why you see people like places like Iwo, places like Ekpe, places like Ishayin fighting back and saying this is not true. You cannot be the custodian, and we cannot be a custodian of Islam in Yoruba land. So I don't understand this psyche, Lonnie. But you don't know. So I don't more geopolitical ambition tiwọn. You must understand it, you must know it, so that you can know how to tackle them. Kí ni geopolitical ambition Ìbàdàn? Geopolitical ambition Ìbàdàn is that they created a Republican empire. Ààrẹ Látòsà ló tiẹ̀ bà gbogbo ẹ̀ jẹ́, because that was when Ìbàdàn stopped listening and cut off their Aláàfin totally. And Ìbàdàn became its own a short-lived Republican empire. It's an empire. It was an empire. That was the only last empire of the Yoruba people. It was forged in blood and iron. We don't pray for such empire anymore because it was built on the destruction of our fellow Yorubas. But advantage Ìbàdàn ni pé Ìbàdàn la fi crush Ìlọrin, and to stop Ìlọrin from becoming a nuisance to the rest of us and destroying Yoruba civilization and replacing it with Islamic civilization. That was what saved the civilization of the Yoruba people. Because of that battle of 1840. So mo ti sọ àwọn important events. So Ìbàdàn was the successor state to the Ọ̀yọ́ empire. Because kò ń ṣe pé gbogbo ilẹ̀ lè wà lábẹ́, lè má wà lábẹ́. Àwọn kan lè má máa gbá defensive, but that is the most powerful force. Was the most powerful force, and it was an Ọ̀yọ́-speaking empire. At point in time, Ògúnmọ́lá was still pro-Ọ̀yọ́, Aláàfin and everything. At a point in time, Látòsà gé ogun ẹ̀ dànù. Tó fi di pé Aláàfin Adéyẹmí Alówólójú was now writing letters to the British to come and stop the Ìbàdàn army, and even also supporting the embargo so that Ìbàdàn will not be able to get access to war and ammunition again. Because what Ibadan was trying to do was to use force of arms to be able, for its own, maybe for its own, it wants to be at the center, just like what Macedonia did to Greece. But we should not be using war as a means of unification. So during this period, Ibadan was the centerpiece. Or the centerpiece. Now, let us now leave that. That was the end of that era. Let us go into what happened. Now there was a Western region. The Western region was the successor to Ibadan Empire. And what happened in Western region? In tó Western region láti bombedo ní láàrin ara wa again. In tó destroy Western region, a lè máa sọ pé àwọn Fúlàní àti Igbo tó giri ò bá lanu aláǹgbó lè gbògiri. Torí ẹ̀ ni àwọn ọba ọ̀rọ̀ politics ọba ìwọ tó jẹ́ commoner ẹ má dá sí ẹ má dẹ petrol sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ má dá petrol sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ má ìkílẹ̀ Yorùbá bàjẹ́. So that shall the last empire of the Yoruba people died after that treaty. After the treaty of the Kiriji War, where the Ekiti and the Jeshas, the Ondo and the rest of Yoruba land, even in Ilorin, ganged up on Ibadan and fought valiantly. And everybody said there was no empire. Now, in Ibadan creates a new republican where anybody can become an Oba. So tó wá Ìbàdàn rí kíní yẹn ṣe nísìn bóyá gbogbo system ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ni wọn ò bá ti dàrú, and they would gbogbo pé ká máa jọba through bloodline yẹn Ìbàdàn would have stopped it. So you can understand wípé kò sí irú system of empire building tí Yorùbá ò tí try. We are very unique people. The most Ife tried the Ebi system, where it was the Middle Kingdom. First from war, secondly through the Ebi system. In Tife trade, in Tife Sheniye. Later on, Yoyo came with his hard boots. Oyo hard boots. Later on, Yana failed, and it was through ascent bloodline. At a point in time, even Constitution Oyo was Aremo by Bodokpa. Obodo Waja. But that also Ibadan destroy Ibadan, even though it was Alaafin Atibawa that wanted his son Adelu to replace him. And that was the issue that created problem between Ijaye and Oyo and Ibadan. So into fight Janiye. So when I'm telling you that a lot of things has changed, Western region, not replaced Oyo, not replaced the last empire. And in the House of Chiefs, Ibelawolowo now went back and now brought back the ascendancy. Okay, good though. Ife we be the permanent chairman. Ibi tí wàhálà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ nìyẹn. Ibẹ̀ làwọn Benin àti Ọ̀yọ́ ti sọ pé no. Ṣé gbogbo wàhálà yìí ọ̀rọ̀ supremacy yìí ibẹ̀ ni wàhálà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀. But I studied the northern region. Torí ẹ̀ ni it is very, very crazy. Can anybody underrate Fulani people? Sherry, ó better kẹ́ on the Kenya any tó bá understand the statecraft kò lè parun láíláí. Ṣùgbọ́n ìran tó bá brilliant, tó mọ̀wé, tó lẹ́bùn, tó ní ẹwà, ṣùgbọ́n tí ò understand the statecraft, ìran yẹn ò lè last. Nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ní 2025 yìí, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn tó ń jáde tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ bíi tèmi báyìí, many of them tó yẹ pé opportunity wà ní ó yẹ kí wọ́n kó gbogbo wọn sínú ibì kan ní kán mọ̀ yẹ kán sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá. because they don't understand statecraft. Geopolitics yóò yé wọn. Kẹ́ ẹ gbé ìwé síwájú, kẹ́ ẹ mọ ní chapter 4. Kìnì kan ṣe kìnì kan does not mean you understand Yoruba history. You are saying nonsense. Understand Yoruba history because you have zero understanding of geopolitics. Understand geopolitics. Torí ẹ̀ nínú a Yoruba man with PhD in history. So you understand the geopolitics. It is an atomic bomb waiting to blow on all of us. Because I need to understand. But I want Fulani tẹ́ ń bú yẹn. Wọn ò mọ̀wé, wọn ò gbóyìnbó, orí tí wọ́n pé when it comes to understanding power, understanding geopolitics, and understanding statecraft. Tẹ́ ẹ bá lọ wo northern Nigeria, in order to be able to bring tọ́lá àwọn Kanuri gbà yẹn náà, wọ́n wà pro Awólọ́wọ̀. Àwọn Kanuri, they were asking for their region, and they never wanted anything to do pẹ̀lú northwest yẹn ibi tí caliphate wà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe mọ́ tí wíkì ní ṣe ntí ṣe many places lónìí tó ti ń sọ Haúsá bíi ní Nasarawa, bíi ní Niger State, ní Taraba, even Plateau tẹ́ pé Haúsá ló wà di lingua franca ń sìn. The majority of those places in the north. As at the First Republic, many of these places, they were still speaking their indigenous mother tongue. It was the policies of Ahmadu Bello during that short period. The policies of Ahmadu Bello was one north. Kini tuma one north. One north here was based on Hausanization, Arewanization, and the creation of a monolithic north. And they achieved one serious. That was why they were using diplomacy, gunboat diplomacy. Ibi tó kàn ti jà wọ́n jà tó kàn ti pa àwọn èèyàn wọ́n pààyàn tó ti ṣe destruction wọ́n ṣe destruction bẹ́ẹ̀. Torí ẹ̀ ni wọ́n fi tètè rearrange north. Tẹ́ ẹ bá wo tí wọ́n ṣe ní corn north. This issue of ẹnìkan number 1, ẹnìkan number 2, wọn ò ṣe north. In tí wọ́n ṣe ní corn north was very simple. Wọ́n lọ create NSCIA. Wọ́n wo similarity tó wà láàrin the Kanuri, the Borno Empire, àti Sokoto Caliphate, which is Sunni Islam. Torí ẹni tẹ́ bá wo nǹkan, the corn north can tolerate anything. Wọn ò lè tolerate Shia Islam. Torí Shia Islam máa ba balance of power jẹ́. Àwọn dẹ̀ understanding tí wọ́n pè ní balance of power order. Kò dàbí ọ̀dọ̀ tí wá tẹ́ pé a ti rírú àwọn GRV tó ń sọ̀sọ́kùsọ kiri. When time I saw, Lagos is not no man's land, though. Lagos belongs to Lagosians. As if Lagosians is another ethnicity on its own. Now, mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ègùn tó ń bẹ ní mo àyín Yorùbá tó àyín àwọn ègùn. Ẹ ti dára wá ọwọ́ ti di Yorùbá, but I want to say this. The Egun people are not indigenous to Lagos State. They were given ilẹ̀ Àwórì níbi táwọn Egun said to see yẹn. And it was during the time of your Oyo Empire ní Aláàfin ló settle àwọn Egun sí ibẹ̀ on Àwórì land. So they are also a product of your Oyo Empire. Can you understand how Oyo Empire shaped many places in Nigeria, in Yoruba land? Now, mo ń sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn Kanuri. Now, mo sọ̀rọ̀ Kanuri, how they were able to unite the Kanuri and the Fulanis and the Borno Empire and the Sokoto Caliphate into one block. One created an SCIA. They now created 2 permanent positions. The first permanent position, today I want to understand the religion, we've got one knitting tanks. Constituting tank ilẹ̀ Yorùbá mọ́. Torí ẹ̀ lẹ́yìn kan fi believe pé tẹ́ bá ń ṣépè fún Ọ̀yọ́, tẹ́ ń ṣépè fún aláwìn, tẹ́ ló ń kọ ewì olórí burúkú, tẹ́ ń kọ ewì òṣì, tẹ́ ń pàtọ́rí burúkú, tẹ́ ń bú àwọn Ọ̀yọ́. That is what is going to make peace happen in Yoruba land. You are wasting your time. You are pouring petrol on fire. Àtẹ̀yìn Ọ̀yọ́ náà, àtẹ̀yìn Ọ̀yọ́ kan náà tẹ́ ẹ̀ mójú tẹ́ ẹ̀ mọ́ra tẹ́ ẹ̀ understand ipe ògùn òun wó ruru káwa ruru they understand wípé you cannot be claiming that Aláàfin lọ́ba aládé gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. We know it's not going to happen. Kò sí nǹkan báyìí, we are not going to accept that. Bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan lọ lórí ọba aládé ilẹ̀ Yorùbá kóníkálukú àti confederacy ni. That is not going to be acceptable nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. I know some of you don't want to listen to this truth. Some people even unfollowed me. Wọ́n ní mo wà àǹtí Ọ̀yọ́. But I'm not here to ponder to your ego. Because Ọ̀yọ́ is one of the groups that make up the Yoruba people. Loyalty tí mo sí ní lọ́yìn sí mọ́ Ọ̀yọ́ náà ni mo ní sí Ifẹ̀. Òun náà ni mo ní sí Òkun. Òun ni mo ní sí Ìṣẹ̀kírì. Òun ni mo ní sí àwọn Ifẹ̀ tó ń bẹ ní Àtàpàmè. Òun ni mo ní sáwọn Brimas tó ń bẹ ní Ghana. Òun ni mo ní sáwọn Ga tó wà ní Ghana. Òun ni mo ní sáwọn Aku tó ń bẹ ní Gambia àti ní Sierra Leone. Many of the Aku people and Oku people are descendants of Yorubas from the Oyo Empire. So you have to understand how this spread happens. You have to understand why it is so important to understand the importance of this empire and these empires. Now, let's now go back into what is the current legacy of these empires across the Yoruba-speaking space. Ilorin still signifies the Oyo Empire. Ado Ekiti signifies the Benin Empire. Akure still talks about the relics of the Benin Empire. Benin Empire is a Yoruba empire. We are no book by him. I know a lot of this Benin. I'm not here to pander to your ego. Benin Empire was an Oromiyan empire. If you claim Oromiyan, who is one of the great fathers, ancestors of the Yoruba civilization, then you are part of us. The day you take Oromiyan away from your history is the day we are going to take many of you serious. Ibadan was also a creation, a creation, a product of the Oyo Empire. Lokoja was a creation of the early migration and expansion of the Ife Empire. Torí ẹ máa wo àwọn Abẹ́òkúta, ẹ̀yin ẹ̀gbá ẹ̀ ní bínú sí mi o. Tí Ọ̀yọ́ Empire ò bá fọ́, kò lè sin tó jẹ́ Abẹ́òkúta o. Ìgbà t'Ọ̀yọ́ Empire fọ́, táwọn Ọ̀yọ́ refugees tí wọ́n wá sẹ́bàá ọ̀dàn, tí battle between the Republicans and the monarchy ṣẹlẹ̀ níbẹ̀. Òun ló fà tágbé àwọn Ẹ̀gbá fi sún kúrò torí ibi tán pè ní Ìbàdàn lónìí. Àwọn Ìjẹ̀bú, Ẹ̀gbá àti Òwu ló ní majority ibẹ̀ o. Torí ẹ̀ la fi sọ pé kò gbọdọ̀ sógun kó mọ̀ sọtẹ́ o. There will be dislocation and destruction of our people. So Abeokuta is also a product, a relic. It's one of the chain reactions of the Oyo Empire. No, níbẹ̀ yẹn náà. Òṣogbo became prominent after 1840. Ìgbà yẹn ni Ìbàdàn lọ station army síbẹ̀ láti protect ibẹ̀. Òṣogbo is a relic of Ìbàdàn Empire. Lagos. Anyway, I know a lot of people. Port Novo is a relic of the Oyo Empire. Torí Lagos to the city state. Lagos State is now a city state. Even the capital itself does not matter anymore. Torí ẹ̀ ni mi fi sọ̀rọ̀ Lagos. Accra, ibi táwọn indigenous homeland of the Ga, is a product of Ife Empire. Ẹ má wá gbàgbé o, everybody o Ifẹ̀ ni oníkálukú ti mú civilization yìí lọ o. The Ìbàdàn people, Ifẹ̀ empire, Odùduwà ní foundation ẹ̀. Ọ̀yọ́ empire, Ọ̀rànmíyàn ní foundation ẹ̀. Benin empire, Ọ̀yọ́ Ọ̀rànmíyàn ní foundation ẹ̀. Ìbàdàn empire, Ọ̀rànmíyàn ní foundation ẹ̀. Ibì kan wà tó ń pè ní Ọ̀rànyàn ní Ìbàdàn, very close to Kudeti. That is where they invoke the spirit of Ọ̀rànmíyàn when they want to go to war. The secret of power, the god of power of the Yoruba people of the Ibadan empire was Ọ̀rànmíyàn. Àwọn nìkan náà wọ́n ní àṣírí yẹn lọ́wọ́ tí wọ́n sì fi invoke Ọ̀rànmíyàn tó bá fẹ́ lọ sógun. This is a bitter truth. The god of war of Ibadan was also Ọ̀rànmíyàn. And one of the secrets tí Ọ̀rànmíyàn saw is that anytime there is war, he must be called upon and is going to answer. But Ibadan, one way or the other, were able to crack that code of to be able to be calling upon the spirit of Ọ̀rànmíyàn to go to battle. But that is not what we are talking about. But I'm telling you that these are foundations. It is a foundation. So oníkálukú náà wá gbọ́dọ̀ mọ àyè ẹ̀. Torí ẹ̀ ní Benin blah blah blah. Benin cannot be taken out of the Yoruba Commonwealth. Bó pẹ́ títí akóló ló pe bàbá, they themselves cannot stop prognosing to Yoruba issue. They can't. 1972 ni wọ́n bínú lọ ọ̀rọ̀ House of Chiefs. Ipe kan máa fẹ́ nìkan jẹ́ permanent chairman of the kìnnìkan pé empire ni wá náà rubbish fòlélẹ̀. Àwọn olè gba nonsense. Tọ́yọ̀ gan mal opportunity ni Ọ̀yọ́ ti lọ create region ẹ̀ and get out of Western region. Òótọ́ ni mo sọ fún yín o. Torí mo rí táwọn kan láàrin wa. Àwọn kan àwọn iṣẹ́ Yorùbá kóòtù òjíire ní kìnnìkan ẹ̀dẹ̀ fẹ́ dalẹ̀ Yorùbá rú. Ìyí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Roman Empire ẹ fẹ́ mú wá sílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Roman Empire? Roman Empire was broken into two. Eastern Yoruba land, Western Yoruba land. Now, èyí ti pín sí mẹ́ta tẹ́ ẹ mọ̀. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ti ń pín sọ́nà mẹ́ta tí ẹ mọ̀. A dẹ̀ ń pariwo fún yín ẹ̀gbọ́n ìtàn burúkú torí pé ní ọ̀fìn tẹ́ máa jẹ lórí social media lẹ́ ń wá. Because you are not knowledgeable in geopolitics. Mi ò fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí for a long time, but I have to start speaking out. Torí many of you, you think you need to understand geopolitics. If you don't understand it, go and do a 6-month course and understand what geopolitics is. So that you can understand our future and how we are going to be able to do all these things. And how to be able to navigate difficult periods. How we are going to navigate difficult periods. So it is very, very important for us to understand where we are coming from and where we are going. And because of this reason, today the understanding the 1,000 years of geopolitics in Yoruba land. Today Yoruba see. Edo people, Edo states, Benin to Binupo lára yín ara yín ni wọ́n. Àti ìrìyànjú sìn àwọn náà lo kíní ẹ̀ náà fi já àwọn òsè àkókò Ẹ̀dó àwọn ìṣẹ̀kiri náà kó wọn lọ. They are also part of us. Benin are part of us. I'm saying it here on life. Whether they want to go about their job, let us talk on civilization level. We use the same civilization. We use the same civilization. Ẹ lọ wò táwọn lọ́wọ́. Ẹ wo pé ká máa dọ̀bálẹ̀ yẹn. Àwọn Ọ̀yọ́ ló mú wá.
Ọjọ́ bá pẹ́ títí ọjọ́ àpín o, bọ́nà bá jìnnà jìnnà àdópin o. Àti sáré àdópin aré, àmàtí jìyà àdópin ìyà o. Àti sunsun àti kan ògiri, ó má di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o.
Ilé òní gbóná kárẹ́nu omi kọ́lé, ayé òní kóró kálọ̀ dífá ọ̀run o. Láyé náà la ó wà, títà ó fi ṣẹ́gun lójú àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀. Ẹkún fáwa ọmọ Yorùbá ọjọ́ ayọ̀ súnmọ́lé o.
Ó di láéláé pọ́n gbá ó mà di láéláé pọ́n gbá Yorùbá ò ní dọ̀bálẹ̀ ẹ̀fẹ́ nìkan ó di gbẹ̀yìn kọ́ lọ́tẹ̀ ìmọ̀ o.
Yé ẹ dìde dìde bí ológun ẹ bá jàgà sílẹ̀ o ẹ rántí àtọmọdọ́mọ kò ní sún wa kò ní rẹ̀ wá bá ó fi ṣẹ́gun tẹni tó dé ó sàn ju ẹni tirẹ̀ ń bọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ò ní ní dúró kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n kẹ́dúró gbọ̀n 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 àtùpàgbé oníkan yóò bí ẹ bá sùn ẹgbẹ́ ọjọ́ ayọ̀ sùn.